This is a lesson on angle properties. This tutorial is being presented by Peter Smith. I just want to show you some of the properties of angles formed by intersecting lines. Here are a few basic key facts you need to remember. You may pause the video and take notes. 1. An angle of 90 degrees is called a right angle. Note the special symbol that is used to denote a right angle. 2. An acute angle is greater than 0 degree but less than 90 degrees. 3. An obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. 4. An angle of 180 degrees is called a straight line angle. And the fifth one, a reflex angle is greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. Also, we have two types of specially named angles. These are complementary angles and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are two or more angles added together to give a total of 90 degrees. While supplementary angles are two or more angles added together to give a total of 180 degrees. Now let us look at the properties of angles when two or more lines intersect. The first one we are about to look at is the adjacent angles. These are angles that share a common vertex and a common side, but no common interior point. Adjacent angles are angles that are side by side. These two angles, A and B, are two adjacent angles. The angles M and N are not adjacent angles, because they do not share a common vertex and a common side. The next type of angle property we are going to talk about is the straight line angle. These are adjacent angles that are on a straight line. These angles are added together to give a total of 180 degrees. These are also referred to as supplementary angles, because they are added to give a total of 180 degrees. We have not determined what the values of these angles are, we are only using letters to represent the values for these angles. The other property is angles at a point. Angles at a point make a complete revolution. Their sum is 360 degrees. So it is all the angles around this point must be added together to give a total of 360 degrees. This one we are about to look at is called vertically opposite angles. When two lines cross each other, the angles opposite each other are called vertically opposite angles. One important fact you are to remember about this angle property is that vertically opposite angles are equal. So these angles opposite each other are equal. Let us take a look at what we call a transversal. Any line that intersects two other lines in the same plane is called a transversal. This green line is a transversal because it intersects the two parallel lines. How many angles are formed when a transversal intersects two lines? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 angles formed. We will now look at the other types of angle properties. This one is the alternate angles theorem. Angles that are bounded by two parallel lines, a transversal, and are on opposite sides of the transversal, are called alternate angles. So for you to identify alternate angles, you must see parallel lines, a transversal, and the angles must be on opposite sides of the transversal. You might be familiar with the term interior angles. Interior angles are angles on the inside of a shape. We have what is called interior alternate angles. These are the alternate angles on the inside of the diagram. These are the alternate angles between the parallel lines. One key fact you need to remember about this concept is that alternate angles are equal. So note that the two yellow marked angles are alternate angles, and they are equal angles. Also, the two blue marked angles are equal. We also have what is called exterior alternate angles. You might be familiar with the term exterior angles. Exterior angles are angles on the outside of a shape. Exterior alternate angles are angles on the outside, on the opposite sides of a transversal. The angles represented by the letter X are exterior alternate angles, and these angles are equal. The angles represented by the letter Y are also equal angles. This type of angle property is called corresponding angles. Angles that are bounded by two parallel lines, a transversal, and at the same location at each intersection, are called corresponding angles. One key fact you need to remember about this concept is that corresponding angles are equal. Note that the angles represented by the letter Y are corresponding angles, and they are equal angles. Also, the angles represented by the letter P are corresponding angles, and they are equal. The final concept is the cointerior opposite angles. Cointerior opposite angles are supplementary, meaning they add together to give a total of 180 degrees. Angle C plus angle D equals 180 degrees. You have just watched a lesson on the properties of angles formed by intersecting lines. This lesson was presented by Peter Smith. Please join me in another lesson where we learn more important math topics. Let us think of education as a tool to develop our greatest abilities, because in each of us, there is a private hope and dream.